Good morning, traders, and welcome back to the Trader Bacon Show. I'm your host, Gates Adams. Happy Monday to everybody. I know everybody in here is wondering what is going to happen tomorrow and how that will likely affect the markets. I'm happy to say that I have no clue, which means I didn't trade today. I'm not going to trade tomorrow. I'm probably going to skip Wednesday too. All of that said, we do know that the markets do react to big news, and I think that any way you slice it, we are in store for some interesting dynamics over the course of the next few days. So instead of trading today, we get to have a fun and exciting conversation with a seasoned trader who has the opportunity to live that true laptop lifestyle. You guys know how much I love talking about the opportunity to live overseas or travel and do things, and the freedom that trading affords to all of us. But before we get into that, of course, I want to remind everybody we will be giving away 3 evaluations today from Apex Trader Funding. Please make sure to fill out that form in the chat. It takes just a couple of seconds and you will be entered to win one of those. Now, that said, of course, we have some winners from last week. Forgive me if I butcher this, but Karan, Jacqueline, and Genesis, congratulations. You should have already received the information on how to get those set up in your email. And if you are one of the lucky winners from today, keep an eye out for your in your email for instructions on how to do that. All of that said, of course, as you guys know, I love a little bit of shameless self-promotion. So if you have not had a chance to do so, please check out the Forged Trader podcast on Spotify and iTunes. Let me know what you think. Leave a review. And I am still on a hiatus on that one. So if you have not had a chance to go through the 13 episodes that are up there, great time to catch up. I am hoping to be back up and running and live weekly before the end of the year. Fingers crossed if everything works itself out that we've got going on over on this side of things. But all of that said, let's get ready for an exciting show today. Dominic is going to be with us. Dominic lives in the Philippines and has an opportunity to live just an incredible lifestyle as a full-time trader, and just the opportunities that trading provides to all of us. So get ready, hold on to your seats, and let's welcome Dominic to the Trader Bacon Show.
Welcome to the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid, and bringing home the bacon. Are you ready? Because the Trader Bacon Show starts right now.
Dominic, welcome.
Hello. How are you, Gates?
I'm doing fantastic this morning. How are you?
Great to hear. Well, here it's around, what time is it? It's midnight.
It's midnight. It's better than the 2 a.m. that we spoke last week and getting prepped for this. Thank you for working that schedule in. Yes, obviously living overseas and working on an American schedule sometimes creates a little bit of a dynamic. So thank you for sharing this time with us. So you know what? Let's get started and let's address the elephant in the room before we kind of get into some background here. What do you think about trading this week in terms of the dynamics with U.S. elections and everything that's going on over here? Do you feel like the markets are as much of an opportunity as they always are, or is it time to be extra cautious?
Well, you know what? They're trying to be extra cautious. First of all, what I've noticed is the markets don't follow through as much. They do have really short ranges, but they do have a trend. But it's not where is following through sometimes. It's really what I call grindy behavior. But has direction.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, so look, some traders are really diligent about knowing what's going on in the news. Some are like, for the most part, I know a reaction is going to happen at, 10 a.m. or whatever the case may be. But there are just certain things that you can't steer away from. Like there's no way to not know what's going on and everything here. And that just, in my opinion, there's no way that this doesn't have an impact. And as a trader, at least the way that I trade, and I think the way that you trade, we look for expected repeated patterns. And when the dynamics of the world going on around us are outside of the ordinary, to me, that's a red flag saying, hey, maybe those normal patterns are not going to follow through. Maybe we should just go ahead and sit this one out. And so I did. I did not trade this morning. Did you trade this morning?
Yeah. In fact, while we were just talking before we got on, hit my profit target. So I'm happy. That's it.
Well, congrats. I stand corrected. All of what I said. Nah. All right, Dominic, we hit that one. I just don't think that it would have been appropriate not to, considering everything that's going on this week. So,
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about you. Now, you've been trading for a minute, right?
Yeah, approximately a little over 10 years.
10 years. How did you find your way into the world of trading?
Good question. I started way back when I was a IT director at a company, but I was also part-time trading because
Mhm.
in fact, I was just thinking, what if I get pink slipped? What am I going to fall back on? Because I really have no
Right.
control. No one has control over that, right? And so I said, well, I have to just in case have a backup plan. So I
Right.
started to learn trading, and my trading really started in forex.
Okay.
So I did that for 3 years, and I found out, man, this is I could not get consistently profitable at
Mhm.
all. And until somebody told me that, have you noticed how they? Well, I'm not gonna badmouth anything here with forex, but most other people I know, they started in forex, which is really a
Mhm.
good training ground, right? So that's
Sure.
where I got started.
And so what was it about forex that drew you in? Was it the ability to size down to the level that you could, or was it potential opportunity, or just the fact that there's a
Well,
million different things you can trade?
well, to tell you the truth is that was the only thing that was available at that time that I could really learn in terms of you only need how much capital, maybe at that time, maybe 150
Yeah.
bucks to get started in a live account. And you just traded micro lots and you made money making what, 50 cents, $1. That's fine.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. Of course, everything in the world of trading is I don't want to say fractal, is scalable. And that's to me, that's one of the beautiful things. But when you start talking about, look, you've got your major markets and there's plenty of liquidity there. One of the things that I found is that futures, particularly when you're trading the indices, the fact is that somebody like us, we're never not going to get filled. We're never going to miss that opportunity. And I mean, yeah, we may get gapped or something like that. But the fact is that opportunity to me seems a lot cleaner in futures than anything else. So at some point, obviously, you made that transition. How'd you end up in futures?
Well, here's the thing. You remember in forex, it's usually all currency pairs. You had like the 26. You had to scan those 26 pairs, and well, to tell you the truth, I really had a hard time just trying to keep track of which one am I going to be looking at. Right, that
Right.
gave the best opportunity to profit.
Sure.
So I had somebody had introduced me to futures, and I said, "Oh, this is a lot better." I was only trading one market, and that was at that time the S&P, the ES. And I
Mhm.
said, and once you got focused on one market, you see the patterns all the time, and it would
Right.
repeat. And that's where you finally said, "Well, here's the partner. I'm going to take advantage right here," and I would get my profit target, and that was it. I said, "Wow, this is a lot easier than for me." Forex. I mean, that's my personal opinion. That for me, I'd rather be looking at one chart than several other charts.
William says in the chat, making 50 cents beats losing. Yes, 100%. There are plenty of days where I wish I had made 50 cents. That would have been
Yeah.
fantastic. But
Uh,
yeah, so we go through these cycles. Now it's interesting. You talk about trading ES versus and how you start to learn how the market moves. I primarily trade NQ. And people who like NQ love NQ and probably aren't going to trade much of anything else because they get used to the pace. People who
mhm.
don't trade NQ usually can't stand it because of the pace. And I
Right.
think that there is that absolute dynamic. I always equate it to like whatever your favorite brand of soda is
Hmm.
not probably because you like the flavor so much better than another. It's what you get used to. It's what you get comfortable with.
Right.
And so I think that is part of the development as a trader. And we start to find what works for us. I think the first time I traded ES was when I actually started. I used to do this exercise. Like if I was in a trade longer than 10 seconds, I would get super
Mm.
anxious and so I started juggling. I started like I needed to keep my mind and my hands busy while I was in a trade that lasted 4 or 5 minutes because I couldn't take that pressure.
Right.
And we learn how to do that. Now I'm in trades that last hours sometimes, and it's okay, but it's that transitional period where we start to question ourselves, where we start to get anxious, where we start to lose a lot of that focus that brings us that level
Hmm.
of success. As you've been developing as a trader and looking at different markets, different indices and different instruments, have you found that you have a particular comfort zone in one area versus another?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. When going through as I progressed in my trading, because it's really a progression. It's almost like how can I put this? Those of you, it's also my progression in my spiritual journey. Basically, that's what it is. And basically, when you progress, you get to see different things, right?
Right.
You get to see the different things about the market. For example, I started with the ES, and I found that comfortable because at least it traded at a predictable rate, not like NQ. For me, I really had a hard time trading NQ, but I'm trading it now. Why? I was able to find a way to really frame the
Exactly.
price because at that time it was just going all over the place. I didn't know how to look as compared to ES. At least
Right.
there was an organized structure or organized pattern with the ES. However, sometimes it would just bog down, right? Sometimes it would just bog down, and there I just had to get that. So it would just bog down, and then days where it just ranges, and you just have to sit in your hands or something. Or at that time, I was just forcing trades, and I end up losing, and that's where you
Right.
develop.
Yeah, and you start to learn that it's harder in some cases to trade a range on ES necessarily than it would be on NQ. Sometimes you can get a
Exactly.
nice move within a range
Yeah.
on NQ.
Yeah, exactly. Because those ranges in NQ are pretty big.
Right, exactly. And with the ability to scale in size and do all the things that you can do, of course, that gives you an opportunity to make a really nice profit factor when you understand and see how everything moves. So,
Right.
of course, one of the things that we love to do here on the show is really take a look at some charts and see what it is that's working for you. And, I always say this with a grain of salt, not that everybody in the audience should transition and trade the way that you do. I love to highlight the fact that any decent system can be successful. The point here is not to switch systems. The point here is to take whatever system works for you and is comfortable for you and master it and improve on it and do all of these things. So let's go ahead and take a look at some charts and let's look at what's working for you in at this point in I guess NQ in this case.
Right. So this is MQ, the micro, right? Which I love trading. There's no stress for me in terms of trading this. Now, what you see here in the chart is basically I have let me see, 3 moving averages: the 233, the 55, and the 21. The 233 is maybe the circle, which is right. If I can get my mouse right here, the circles, and the blue line is the 55 EMA. They're all EMAs, and the yellow dash line is a 21. That basically tells me where. Like I said, mostly everyone knows this, and it's above the 233. That's usually you're looking for a long bias, right? So it's below the 233. It's usually a short bias. Now you have some lines there. That's what we call. I've learned this from another trader. It's what we call the golden lines or golden setups, and those are the like whole numbers. You can see they're all mostly whole numbers, and they really bounce off on those things. And then when I see that, depending on the trend, those are really my profit targets, and I use my stop loss based on the swings, or what we call the swings. And what I'm using here is basically a Renko chart. I used to trade a tick chart, a 610 tick chart on ES. But when I found out more about Renko, I said, oh, you can see this a lot cleaner than I did with tick charts.
Well, and you know what? And Steve, by the way, I did hear that a second ago. It sounds like it's gone. So we're going to cross our fingers. Hope I don't have any more echo as we go through here. So we were talking a little bit before this, and I asked you if these were Renko bars. I've seen Renko bars. I don't truly understand Renko bars. Can you explain to us a little bit about what is being displayed on this chart here so that maybe we can have a better grasp of it?
Okay, so this particular, I'm using Ninja Renkos, and this setting right here is basically what we call the brick size is around 20 ticks with a reversal of 4 ticks. So what you see here, you see these color bars here, the white and the blue, those are reversal bars. So when you see that, that's usually a reversal bar, and that really tells me that's where I can enter a trade when there's a reverse or makes a swing, right?
Okay.
If you see that ordinary candles, you see the swing there as well, but this one is more based on what volume rather than the time, right?
Okay.
And so I'd rather see this because it really tells me, okay, where is the volatility or the momentum, rather than me looking at a time base. You can't tell. Well, sometimes you can. It depends on the time, what time based chart you're using, right? A lot of people I know, instead of using how they enter trades, are usually using a 1 minute chart. This one you can actually adjust the brick size to, if you want to see more of a scalping thing, you just adjust the brick size. There's another setting here that I would use for in this case M&Q or NQ would be 11.4. Right now I'm
Okay.
using a 24. So what I see here, again, what I base it on, I'm looking at the reversals, meaning the blue bar and the white bar. And when I see a reversal in price, I can either get out of the trade because I know now it's mostly going to go against where I'm going, and just close it out. That's how I minimize my losses. And once it gets back in the track, then I go enter again. But at least I can minimize my loss or be able to manage it.
Okay, and I'm looking at one of the questions here, and I'm going to actually pose this to you because Steve asked, I haven't been around in the markets in the 2020 elections. How will the markets behave tomorrow? Will there be volatility? Okay, so I kind of gave my expectation that it's not necessarily about the volatility. It's more about the fact that the markets won't move under normal expected ways, in my humble opinion. What do you think about that? What do you think we're looking at tomorrow as the whole world is staring at this ridiculous stage that we have over here and trying to figure out what in the world is going to happen?
Well, here's what. I was trading when COVID hit, and that market just tanked. I mean, we just all over the place, right?
Sure.
And and this is, in my humble opinion, that's going to be nothing compared to what's going to happen tomorrow because of all what's going on. So a lot of people say they're not going to trade, but volatility is an opportunity to make money, and that's a lot of people making money when there's a lot of there's crisis in the market. But the thing is, you have to know, it's not really, you just have to know what the ranges are. For example, what I trade on my other chart, I use a VWAP with deviation levels. So when I look at a deviation levels, I know it's going to get up there. I would do a limit order there, and with a stop wherever the range would be. Then see what happens there. But I would, and I'm like you said, in my humble opinion, it's very going to be volatile. But the thing is, we welcome volatility. You just have to. A lot of traders get scared about it because they think they can't, and that is true. But the thing is, you have, and this is what I mentioned before. See, trading is not. There's a lot of great systems out there, right? Right. But it really depends on your mindset and how you're going to handle a trade. Absolutely. For example, you consider yourself a swing trader or more of a scalper?
No, more of a scalper.
Okay. Me, I'm more of a swing trader. Why? That's why I'm trading M&Q. It allows me that flexibility to do that, where I can manage my risk by the number of contracts that I'm trading in M&Q.
Well, I think, and again, my humble opinion, once again, I think to answer that question, I don't think tomorrow's going to be the big day because we're still going to be in indecision. Honestly, I'm not even sure Wednesday's going to be the big day because I don't think we're probably going to have a definitive answer for a couple of weeks if history tells us correctly. But that level of uncertainty, I think the one thing that you can count on is the fact that you are going to need a significant level of risk management because I think that there is a potential for the market to do things very differently than the things that we've come to expect, the things that we've come to see as the norm. If we have a swing point that might offer some support or some resistance, it may not under these circumstances. And so it's just something to be more aware of. I'm not sophisticated enough in my trading yet to swing the wild cowboy days. So I'm going to hold out. Now, that's the best decision for me. But Dominic, obviously the best decision for you is the decision that you're going to make, which ultimately is going to be, I'm going to watch the market. I'm going to set some parameters and I'm going to see what happens.
Yep. If I happen to see there's a lot of erratic movements where it's really not, it's really out of the structure, then I'm not going to trade because then you can't really know how to trade that when it's really not, if it's going all over the place, there's really no structure there.
Right. And that's the whole thing. I mean, we learn how to trade based on repeated patterns. When those patterns are not necessarily expected because of other dynamics, then that's at least a factor. Anyway, let's get back to the charts here because I'm having a good time looking at this. And of course, we have the question here. What's your target profit per trade in M&Q? Now, are you looking for a specific tick level? Are you looking for a specific dollar amount? Or do you trade based on a specific risk amount?
Good question. So you see my levels here, right? You see those. You see the gold and the blue. Those are basically my profit targets.
Okay.
So I can either, for example, if I know the trend is going up based on the 233, it's almost like a pullback trade. And let's
Mhm.
say if I can get my mouse over here, let's say it bounces off a particular, like for example, this 233 now, it's below the price is below the 233. So I'm looking at that. Now it might pull back to the 233 and come back down. My target would be this. See, my mouse is kind of because here we are. Okay, hold on. Here we are. It would be going down at that level at 20150. If you see that,
Mhm.
205150. That's right here. Yeah, my
Okay.
thing right there.
Yeah.
That would be
Now we've
my
got it.
target, right? Yeah. That's where my target would be. And usually my targets, I usually have 2 contracts, but I do scale in depending on if this is going to be a runner or not. Now, my first target is usually, I believe it's 7 points.
Mhm.
And my second target is going to be whatever the value. I think it's around 50 ticks or something like that. But that's usually, and if I see the momentum is still strong, most likely it's going to get to the next level, which is 2126. Then I will just use that one contract as a runner, or even start scaling in
Sure.
2 contracts or 1 contract at a time, depending on what my risk is.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. And I think this is an indication of where the conversation is, where the interest is here. John asks, he's a Navy retiree. And by the way, John, thank you for your service. I probably have said that to you before. He's planning to move to the Philippines in a year. He asks how the time zone difference affects you. I think first and foremost, you're sitting here having a call with me at midnight, and on Friday it was at 2 a.m. So I think that's step one, right? If you're going to talk to people,
Right.
you're going to have some clock flexibility. What else do you throw out there? Because I think that is a good point. We have the freedom to really trade from almost anywhere in the world, as long as we have a
Right.
good internet connection.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you?
In fact, that's a good question, because when I came out here, I wanted to find out. And for me, this is my opinion. It was
Mhm.
very conducive for me because, first of all, I can trade the London market at 3 p.m. here.
Nice.
All right, 3 or
Nice.
4, and I can trade that. Also, we just started daylight savings time. So really, when the market opens here, which is the New York Open, it's 10:30 p.m. And usually,
Right.
I'm done with the market within an hour and a half. I reach I hit my profit target, and I'm done.
Right.
Same thing when it first started at 9:30. Now, Vince, you know Vince. You know Vince?
I know
Yeah,
Vince. In fact,
yeah.
our guest has been on the show 2 or 3 times now.
Okay. So Vince. Oh yeah, that's right. So Vince, when he was out here, he said, you have the best time to trade." I said, "Yeah. It depends on if you're a night owl or if not. For me, until midnight or anywhere around 12, that's fine with me. You know,
Right.
there's some, and I'm 62 right now. So I still get my sleep, but the thing is, I don't require that much sleep anyways.
Sure. Well, that must be nice. Now, I think a key component here is as Steve mentions, is adjusting your schedule to your trading. Like for me right now here in the U.S., I'm in Central Time.
Hmm.
Market open for me at 8:30 a.m. I'm a
Yeah.
4:30 a.m. guy, right? So I get up, I have my morning routine, I do my cold plunge. Just started that this weekend actually, and so I do some exercise, I eat, kind of get my day started few hours before the market opens. Whereas if I was living in a place where, the market opens at 10:30 p.m., that would not be my lifestyle at all. I
Right.
would have to
Exactly.
be willing and able to make that adjustment or shift which session I'm trading, trade the Asian
Exactly.
session, trade the London
Yeah.
session. As we know, that does mean that we're not necessarily going to see the type of movement that we would see in New York Open, but that doesn't mean that opportunity is not there. I think at the end of the day, we learn to trade what it is that we trade,
Right.
whether that be London, New York AM, whatever the case may be.
Yep. In fact, the best time to trade. What I see, I have some students that I basically help to learn, because most of the traders here in the Philippines are forex traders. They have
Okay.
no idea what futures are. So, anyways, they asked me what session do I trade. I said, you know what? There's several sessions that there's a great opportunities that, like you said, the London session, but also what we call the pre-market, and that's
Right.
usually the pre-market here starts at 7 p.m.
Right. See, and that's for me, pre-market is not a tradable session because I've not traded it, because that's
Mm.
really when I'm doing my markups and my analysis and all the things and building my expectations for the day,
Yeah.
waiting for that New York Open. Well, I've had situations where it's, 8 o'clock my time, so 9 a.m., Eastern time, 30 minutes before the market's open, and I see something that just looks fantastic to me, and it's usually not a good idea because I'm basing it on my expectations from New York Open
Right.
style movement, and we're not getting
Right.
that. So I think a lot of it really just has to do with understanding what the circumstances are and building your trading as well as your lifestyle around that, which is a decision that you make if you choose to be a day trader trading futures in the Philippines or wherever
Mhm.
that may be.
Right.
I do think that there's a strong appeal to, in a global world now where we don't have to live in the biggest city to get the best and highest paying job. We can live in places where, the dollar goes 3, 4, 5 times further,
Yeah. Exactly.
earn dollars as a trader, particularly with a funded account. And, for the cost of a night out at Chili's, have an opportunity to really go all in, make
Mm.
thousands of dollars a month if we are successful. And that pressure is not the same as it would be living in metropolitan Chicago, New York, Dallas,
I know.
whatever the case may be.
Yep.
So how long have you actually been in the Philippines, if I can ask?
10 years.
10 years.
I
Okay. So,
came
so
here
your entire
2014. Yeah.
got it.
So
Okay. So
I started trading. In fact, before I left, I was already, well, like I said, I was talking to you before. I was with Daryl with Apex Investing, right?
Mhm.
I was at that time I was trading binary options with Nadex, because
Right.
that's how Apex Investing started off. That's how I got to learn or know and get to know Daryl.
Right.
From that point on, transition to futures. But during that 10 years, that's really where I just focusing on futures. Um, Here, like I said, like you mentioned before,
Mhm.
any everyone says that this is a third world country, but you know what? Well, there's a lot of um, expat who I consider expats or even ex-military who's
Sure.
retiring here, and they find it very conducive for them because of the cost of living, their pensions. I mean, it takes them a long way. But at the same time, when they learn about trading, they said, "Oh wow, I can just make." In fact, if you can make 30,000 a year, you're like living a king out here.
That is a different mindset, and that is
Yeah,
an opportunity that we don't have if we have to go into an office, or even in a lot of cases if we quote unquote work remote, because a lot of times that work remote has some strings attached, right? Whereas you have the opportunity to basically determine when it is that you want to trade, what you want to trade, how you want to trade. And as you told me on Friday, you get to walk around in shorts and a t-shirt all day every day
yeah,
because the weather's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Doesn't sound like a
Uh,
bad gig.
no. Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you. Well, being in this, you don't see no snow, but just only one temp. Well, there's only two seasons: hot and the monsoon season when it rains. That's it.
Right.
So either you're wearing your flip flops because of the wet weather, or
Mhm.
when it's hot, you have to wear flip flops. But that's usually the whole thing. You only two kinds of wardrobe: your shorts, number of shorts, and your t-shirts. That's it.
That's
Unless
it.
you want to go to some formal gig, but other than that, that's all.
That's pretty much it. Hey man, that diminishes the need for closet space. Although it sounds like you could
Right.
get a lot more for your buck out
Yeah,
there, right?
yeah,
So I want to get to this because we are running a little towards the end here. But I've often talked on the show about how I feel like trading is really a mirror for who and what we are outside of trading, and who and what we are outside of trading is a mirror to our trading life. What has trading afforded you the opportunity to do in terms of self-development and discovery and things like that? As you've kind of gone through this lifestyle shift, you said you were working in IT in Chicago, living in the big city and everything. Now you're living in the Philippines, trading for a couple hours a day.
right.
What has that allowed you to do personally in a meaningful way in your life?
Good question. Well, trading when I first began trading, and like most traders, they go to trading because it's about the opportunity to make money, right? Which it is.
Right,
It's a great opportunity. But the thing is, if your focus is on money, and this is my personal journey, I
right.
tend to. In fact, as I'm going to tell you right now, I lost over $100,000 just trading. That's part of my trading journey, right? But the thing is, my focus was about how much money I can make rather than the process. Like, each of us has their own strategy that we trade. You have to focus on that, being consistent and taking the what we call the high probability trade entries of that particular strategy, right? And that's what
Right.
you focus on. It's almost like, in baseball terms, you want to concentrate on the base hits rather than the home run,
Right.
right? Because the people, the batters or the players who have the best batting percentage are the ones who are doing they call small ball, right?
Mhm.
Rather than the home runs. And
Right.
I had to focus that in that aspect. It was okay. You just get these small wins where eventually it compounds and adds up, and that's where my focus is. It's really, like I said before, it was about the money. Now it's about just being focused on being consistent on the strategy you're trading, that you pick one particular gold mine of that strategy that you would focus on and just take that.
We were talking a little bit before the show, and I was sharing that when I was trying to trade about 8 or 9 years ago, I was in the middle of a situation that was very, very expensive. I won't go into detail on this, but I got back into trading. I wanted to give it another go because I needed to make extra money for this particular circumstance. And it didn't last very long, and it didn't go very well, if we're being honest. I actually spent time at Daryl's house for like a week just looking at charts, and like he was gonna coach me through this, and it had nothing to do with him. Like, I just could not get there because my focus was in the wrong place. And that was reflected in my results, and that was also reflected in other areas of my life. And ultimately, yes, we trade because we want the financial rewards, but we want those financial rewards in the time frame that we can get that done in, so that we can focus our time and attention and energy on the things that are truly more important. We talked about our spiritual journey. We talked about family. We talked about all of these things, because ultimately trading is not what's important. Trading is a means to an end. But the ones that are truly successful are the ones that truly love trading, and they're not willing to give up, because they see what it can be, what it can do for them, and what it can create in their life. I know that's been for me in my journey. I've talked about my horrific journey on the show multiple times. It's bad. $100,000.
Yep.
I'm not going to say is laughable, because that's not laughable in anybody's world, but mine was significantly bigger than that. And it wasn't my money. It was Mom's. And so when we sometimes we hold on to these scars, and the reality is, if you can't let go, it's always going to be a factor. Once you learn how to create that balance in your life, which you can get by not having that financial pressure, by not having that time pressure, by not having all of these things that normal quote unquote income sources have, then we find an opportunity for something more enlightening, something more meaningful, and something more, as we talked about on Friday, spiritual.
Right.
I would love to delve deeply into that, but we are so far over already. Let's save that one for another day. Dominic, thank you so much for hanging out with us. For those of you out there, make sure to fill out that form, get the chance to win one of those evaluations. Like John said, because he's better at me than remembering this, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm like the worst YouTuber ever. But like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you guys would like to see on the show as well. I love you guys. I appreciate all of you all. Dominic, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you, Gates. I'm really honored to be here.
All right, my brother. Well, we got to keep in touch. I look forward to catching up with you soon, man.
Likewise, bro.
All right.
Bye-bye.
For the rest of you, we'll see you guys next week after the elections. Hopefully we'll have a definitive answer next week on the Trader Bacon Show.
Thanks for joining the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid, and bringing home the bacon. Make sure to join us next time.